severe weather, of course, all it did was rain. That's about how it goes. So, of course, I'm referring to basketball. We're starting basketball season up this year at Lacey Spring. Of course, I coach the boys. My wife is actually coaching our girls this year. We'll see if she gets to make it all the way through the season, of course. With our little one coming along here. She will be here in January, hopefully no sooner. But whatever happens. So, tonight's lesson, or Devo, is going to be, I like to say it's going to be short, but, sometimes I get to going and we'll see where it stops. Like I said, we are expecting a little one here in the next couple of months. Carly actually just entered the third trimester today, so we are on the final stretch here. And you think that I would talk about that process and that new journey, but I'm actually going to talk about something a little different tonight. I titled this, How to Keep Your Faith in Tough Times. And of course, you might be knowing what I'm referring to, but we've mentioned them before here. But the Callis family, who I went to school with and I've taught, Andrea Callis is a math teacher at Brewer. Her son, Lincoln, goes to Brewer. He's a sophomore. And, of course, he was diagnosed with leukemia not too long ago. Very tough scenario. I taught Lincoln for, I believe, a year or two and coached him in basketball while I did some time at Kateka. His younger sister was a manager for me when I coached girls basketball there. So it's a very tough and difficult situation. Parker goes to school with him. So it's very difficult. But what's even crazier to think about is this is not their first rodeo. Many years back, they had a son that they adopted, I believe, from Russia, whose name is Alex. And he also had cancer at a very young age, and still deals with the ramifications from many years back. Of course, Alex is trying to do his best. He's in the STAR program at Brewer. He's actually doing some working at Publix in Decatur, which is awesome. And so, of course, they have dealt with that for many years. And of course, Lincoln is diagnosed with this disease, and they are up at St. Jude's in Tennessee, and they will be there for they were hoping to be for about 6 weeks, which has now turned into about 10 weeks. He's currently in the ICU up there, trying to get some of those numbers and things back up before they can get him into a more stable area. So it's been very difficult on this family. But the great thing, if you can find any sort of silver linings, is to see the positivity and the faith that Andrea and Lincoln and their family and all of the community that has surrounded this family, the faith that they put in God. Because it is very difficult. It's very, very difficult. I can never even imagine what you go through when dealing with something like this. And of course, when I think about the Bible, I think of the first thing that I turn to is Job. Job was placed in a very difficult scenario, lost a lot, but gained so much more just from his faith. So in Job chapter 1, obviously most of us know the story of Job, but we're going to go through it a little bit here tonight. And I'm using Carly's Bible, so it's going to take me a minute to kind of get the hang of things. But in Job chapter 1, we'll start in verse 6 there, where it says, Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, From where do you come? So Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless man, an upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil? So Satan answered the Lord and said, Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his professions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, Behold, all that he has is in your power, only do not lay a hand on his person. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Now there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and the messenger came to Job and said, The oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding beside them, when the Sabeans raided them and took them away. Indeed, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." And while he was still speaking, another also came and said, "The fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheet and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you." And of course, while he was still talking, another also came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 bands, raided the camels, and took them away. Yes, and killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." And while he was still speaking, another also came and said, "Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house." And suddenly a great wind came from across the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house, and it fell on the young people, and they are dead, and I have escaped to tell you. But this is the very most important part here in this little section there. It says, "Then Job arose and tore his robe, shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, 'Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.' In all this, Job did not sin nor charge God with wrong." So we went through that laundry list of things, and yet Job stayed true. His faith was strong, and he decided he was not going to curse God because, as he said, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. We don't get to control what we get in this life or what is taken from us in this life. Our job is to trust and have faith in God. And of course, as bad as that happens, the one person you think that Job would be able to rely on in his life is his wife. And yet in Job chapter 2, 9 and 10, it says, "Then his wife said to him, 'Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die.' But he said to her, 'You speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips.'" So this kind of reminded me of something that Mark Little said last year in one of his devos that he had here, in that all the times when there's bad things that happen in the world, and whether it be sickness, whether it be natural disasters, and so on and so forth, we say, "I'm praying for you. I'm going to pray to God for you to help you through this time." And then yet when something like this happens to us, one of our first reactions is, "God, why did you choose me? Why did this happen to me? Why couldn't it? Why did you have to do this? Why did you do that?" And we get defensive, and we're wondering what he's doing. So if our job when this is happening to somebody else is that we're going to pray for them, then when it's happening to us, I feel like it's even more important that we're praying to him to help not only figure out why this is happening, but to figure out how we're going to get through this. And then of course, as we'll skip ahead into Job chapter 42 there, the tail end of it, where it says, starting in verse 12, it says, "Now the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he called the name of the first Jemima, and the second the name of the second Keziah, and the name of the third Karen Hapuk. And all the land were found no women so beautiful as the daughters of Job, and their father gave them an inheritance among their brothers. And after this, Job lived 140 years, saw his children and grandchildren for 4 generations. So Job died old and full of days." So no matter how bleak, no matter how difficult, no matter how terrible everything seemed for Job, Job kept his faith during the tough times. And that is what our job is as Christians, is to keep our faith during the tough times, because that is when we need it the most. One of my favorite verses is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which I think most of us can quote almost without looking, but I'm going to look at it anyways just so we can have the full effect. But it's, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path." So that first part is trust in the Lord, but then that next part is very important, because it says with all your heart, not with partial, not just a little bit, but with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. And that's where we, as Christians, we sometimes fall apart, is we think our understanding is more important than God's understanding, and that's not the case. But if we trust in him with all our heart, we lean not on our own understanding, and in all our ways we acknowledge Him, He will direct the way we need to go. So I have no doubt in my mind that God will direct the paths for this Callis family, and our job is to help rally around them, to give them strength, to give them prayers, to give them our support. But even if you're having your own struggles throughout life, and there may be some things that are going on that are really difficult and you need help with, and sometimes you just feel the pressure. I know we have, as humans, we have a lot going on in our lives. We got a lot going on right now. We got a house and a baby and school and coaching, and it seems like there's just a never-ending things happening. But all those things are great things going on in our lives. None of those are things that are going to hurt us or harm us in any way. But you may have something in your life, or you may know somebody that needs some help, needs some support. And the only thing I can tell you is to trust in the Lord, to pray every night, every day for things that are going on in your life, for other people's life, or maybe you just need some help and some guidance, and or maybe you just want to finally take that next step in your faith, and that is to be baptized. And if you want to do anything like that, you're more than welcome to come forward. Josh has an invitation song laid out, and so if you have anything you need, you can come forward now as together we stand and sing.